Hemorrhoids. If you don't believe you got it, I guarantee you have it. I'm an anesthesiologist. I've done thousands of colonoscopies. You would not believe how many people have hemorrhoids, internal and external hemorrhoids. I'm here to talk about how to avoid it and what to do when you have a flare-up. So number one, let's talk about what hemorrhoids are in general. Hemorrhoids are an outgrowth of your blood vessels inside your gut. What is your gut? Your gut is your small bowel and your large bowel. How do you end up with hemorrhoids? It's because you have a diet that's devoid of fiber. Why does that cause hemorrhoids? It's because your gut has to work a lot harder to push all the fluid through. If you have more fiber, it's a lot easier for your gut to push through solid items as opposed to squishy, pasty items. So what type of diets are good? Well, it's anything with vegetables, fruits, and any sort of oatmeal fibrous type of texture. Over the period of your life, your gut is going to have to work harder. And just like any other muscle, when you work harder, your blood vessels get larger. And on the outside of your body, that's not a big deal. But on the inside of your body, it causes havoc. It can ruin the system that's already in place. So let's talk about what to do when you're having a hemorrhoid flare-up. What do you do when you have a hemorrhoid flare-up? Trust me, I would know. I've seen a lot of colonoscopies. I've seen the insides of a lot of human bodies. And I guarantee you, you or somebody you know has hemorrhoids. Here are 5 foods you should avoid when you're having a hemorrhoid flare-up. Number 1, you have to stop anything that has processed flour in. What are some examples of processed flour foods? Well, I'm talking bagels, pizza, white bread, pasta that's not whole grain, and anything that's sweet like cakes, pies, and muffins. Why do you want to stop this? Well, number 1, anything that has processed flour in it is going to be devoid of any sort of fiber. That's because in the creation of flour, you end up removing all the fiber in order for it to get that fine powdery texture that's necessary to cook with. Not only are processed foods with processed flour bad for you, not only do they increase your sugar levels and terrible for your glycemic index, but when you're having a flare-up, they make it even harder for your gut to actually work. It actually adds extra stress to your gut to process and push all that fiber through. Number 2, you're going to want to stop anything that has dairy products. Now, what am I talking about? I'm talking about milk, I'm talking about ice cream, I'm talking about yogurt and cheese. Why do you want to stop that when you have a hemorrhoid flare-up? Well, that's because dairy products, they not only cause constipation and hardening of your stools, but they also make it harder for your gut to actually work. And what the goal is here, when you have a hemorrhoid flare-up, you want to give your gut some rest. How do you give it rest? Well, you skip the dairy products, and it means a lot to me because I love dairy products, excluding ice cream. I love dairy products, but if you have a hemorrhoid flare-up, you want to avoid those altogether. Number 3, spicy foods. Why do you want to avoid spicy foods when you have a flare-up? Well, it's because capsaicin, which is the active ingredient inside of spice, is not fully broken down by your gut. Now, because of this, it makes it to the end, and that's why when you eat something spicy, the next day you feel it out of your rear end. And when you have an enlarged blood vessel, you have more surface area for that capsaicin to lock onto and irritate the blood vessels, which makes it harder for them to heal and eventually get rid of the hemorrhoid. So if you're having a flare-up, do your best to avoid anything spicy. And that's not to mention that spicy food has kind of sort of been linked to leaky gut syndrome. I'll talk about that in a different video, but leaky gut syndrome is not good for long-term health. Number 4, processed meats. This hits home for me because I eat a lot of meat, and you want to do your best to kind of avoid any sort of processed meats. Processed meats include bacon, hot dogs, sausages, and deli meat. You want to do your best to avoid these because not only are not good nutritionally, but they have no fiber in them, but they actually cause your gut to work harder like I've talked about previously. Processed meats kind of remove all the nutrition of meat itself, and I eat a lot of ground beef and ground turkey. Processed deli meats are basically knockoff dollar store versions of actual meat. Along with that, processed meats are linked to cancer, heart disease, and strokes. So do your best to avoid processed meats in general, but for the purpose of this video, if you're having a flare-up, avoid the processed meats. And number 5, you want to do your best to avoid greasy foods. Why do you want to avoid greasy foods? Well, number 1, anytime you have a big burger or a big pizza or fried chicken, you're going to feel that indigestion. That's your stomach working on overdrive to break down the greasy fried food. Now imagine what's happening in your stomach. That indigestion is the same amount of stress you're putting on the rest of your bowel. So if the goal is to give your bowel a rest, if you eat fried foods, that's not what it's going to do. You're actually going to make it even harder for your bowel to digest the food, and it's going to cause increased stress, therefore prolonging your hemorrhoid flare-up. I'm not a huge fan of fried foods. You've heard it on my channel before. I don't like oils in general. And if you don't believe me, do me a favor, take a fried chicken leg and a grilled chicken leg, leave it in a cupboard for 3 days and see which one looks normal and which one looks terrible. That's because when anything is fried, you change the chemistry of that substance itself, making it harder for not only bacteria to take it over, but your own gut to break it down. That's why I'm a big believer that pure foods are best for you and processed foods are not good for you in general. Now let's talk about 3 things you can eat if you're having a flare-up. Number 1, you want to eat high-fiber cereals. This includes anything that has oatmeal in it. And do me a favor, make sure it's glyphosate-free. If you don't know if it's glyphosate-free or not, look for the green symbol that says GF on it. Number 2, another food item that's very high in fiber. Beans are fantastic, not only for your heart. The more you eat, the more you But beans are good to help you pass your stool and give your bowel a rest. Now, beans aren't the most nutritional item out there, but they're very good in this instance to help give your bowel a rest. And number 3, like I talked about before, vegetables and fruits. Vegetables and fruits are natural. They are high in fiber and they're very good for you. Low on the glycemic index will help you lose weight. But not only that, if you're having a flare-up, you want to do your best to increase the fiber in your body, which includes fruits and vegetables. So the bottom line is whatever you eat is going to increase or decrease your chances of having hemorrhoids or hemorrhoid flare-up. You want to do your best to get at least 28 grams of fiber in a day. Now that's not very hard to do, but if you can do it over the long run, you're going to decrease your chances for hemorrhoids and colon cancer. So I'm a big proponent. I try to get fiber in every single day. I eat a lot of red meat, so I try to get oatmeal in every single day or at least 5 days a week to help absorb some of that cholesterol. But not only that, to give my bowel a rest because I do not want these are hemorrhoid flare-ups. Listen, it's a little bit earlier today. It's about 8 o'clock at night, but I really appreciate you guys for tuning in. Do me a favor if you can. I try to do this in my spare time, and I'm trying to build this channel up. Please like, share, comment on this. Let me know what other type of videos you want to see. I appreciate all you guys. I love you guys. I'll see you on the next one.